G'day fellas, welcome to a casted game. Spawning in the west of the map, we've got Simtom, and if you weren't paying attention, this is Age of Empires 4. He's going to be playing the British for us. You can see the nice little British flag there as the town bell rings. Over on the opponent's side, the blue side, we've got Hut. You know him, you love him. He's the Australian sensation, the StarCraft 2 professional player, and he is, of course, playing none other than the Abbasid dynasty. Now, you might be wondering, Drongo, why is the Abbasid flag black? Well, there's a really good reason for that. That's the Abbasid flag. It's not placeholder, that's actually the flag. Google it, type in Abbasid flag or Abbasid dynasty flag, it will literally just be a black flag. There's some other flags in there as well, but I think that one's probably the most suitable one in the current political climate. So let's talk a little bit about this matchup. We've seen this matchup before. In fact, we've seen these two players play this matchup before. And the way that it went was Hut opened with a 3 archery range push, and he pushed his opponent. Now, that map that we were watching last time was King of the Hill. Today's map is Arabia. So we'll look to see if there's any difference in the way that Hut plays this one, whether he's going to be going for that triple range push again. House now coming down for Hut. Going to be dropping this house down, avoiding getting population blocked as well. You can see the timing on this is very, very tight. Let's see if he avoids it. It's going to be by about a second, I suspect. 3, 2, 1. Oh, idle for about half a second right there. Not too bad, not too bad. I'm expecting more from you, though, next time, Hut. 2 villagers now coming out, going to be dropping down onto the stone. No villagers on wood just yet, so going for a very, I would say, not an economic-focused opening. Going for a safe opening. Take a look over at Simtom, see what he's doing. Simtom doing the exact same thing. So it definitely seems to be the meta. The players aren't bothering with wheelbarrow in the first stage. They're not bothering with a mill. They're not bothering with a lumber camp. They are going very aggressively straight for that age up. You see that Simtom is on full food, full wood, full gold, and it's the exact same for Hut. So both players really prioritizing in the early game. Let's talk a little bit about this map. So first and foremost, 3 sacred sites on this map. Some sites, or some maps have got 2, some maps only 1. Arabia's got 3. They're relatively evenly spaced apart, I would say, with this one up to the north being the most, I guess it's a little bit over towards the side of Simtom, but realistically, it actually, you know what? I'm going to say it's right in the middle. I think they've done a pretty good job of that. You've also got the markets out on the edges of the map. Keep in mind that the further you travel from the market, or from your market to the neutral market, rather the trading post, the better the return is going to be. So as an example, if you put your market down here, okay, and you go to this trading post, you're going to get less resources than if you were to put your market down here and go to this trading post. But obviously the consequence, if you go to this trading post, is that you're a lot closer to your opponent. So you need to be very careful with the way that you place and position your trading posts. Taking a look now at Hut, we do spot that he's going up with the economic wing, as you would expect. Simtom, on the other hand, going to be dropping down none other than the Council Hall. Council Hall works at double the efficiency of a normal archery range. It can only train archers, though. It can't train, or it can only train longbows, I think. I don't even think it can train any crossbows or anything like that. Let's have a look. Produces longbowmen at 100% speed from the landmark. That's it. You can only train landmarks. Only train landmarks. You can only train landmarks. You get 63 landmarks that you can train and attack the enemy with. No, you can only train longbows with it. So it kind of broadcasts to your enemy what you're doing, but at the same time, in my opinion, I don't feel that the other wonder is very viable. So it's called the Abbey. I think it's called the Abbey of Kings. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's called the Abbey of Kings. Can we actually check? No, we can't check. Scout under attack up to the north of the map. Gotta be careful there, little scouty boy. But it's just not really viable. I think it's one of those wonders that you kind of have to be a bit careful with in the way that you play with it. One of my suggestions for ways to change that wonder is, because at the moment it's got an AoE effect where it heals in a radius around the wonder, and it's kind of like, it's a defensive wonder, but it doesn't really blend well with the English and the way that they play. So I think like one of the better ways to change it would be actually to make it just heal the entire map, as long as the unit wasn't in combat. So I think that would be a decent change, but I guess it's something that developers are going to be constantly looking at, constantly thinking about, you know, what changes and looking at the potential balance, because it's important that when you go up to the second age, that as an English player, you have those options. You are able to choose, do I want to go for this one or do I want to go for that one? But at the moment, you've really only got this one option. So be curious to see how they're doing. When it comes to Hut playing his Abbasid dynasty, every single one of these options is viable, depending on the map that you get, okay? If your standard option or your standard opening is almost always going to be the economic. But if you're playing on, say, Black Forest, you would go for the culture wing or the military wing. If you're playing on a map that's got a really good trading wing or trade post, or a really good, trade post. Like, let's say this trade post spawned in this corner. Okay, then you can actually go for the trading wing. You put a market up here, you're really safe. You just defend along this line like that, and you can get some crazy trade going up. So that's something to consider. We actually see that Hutt is going to be going for a town center opening. So you can see he's gathered up enough resources for his second town center. He's now dropping it down over on the berries here. So instead of placing it, normally you see players actually place it on hunts. So you can see there's a hunt out here. There's actually a hunt up here to the north as well. So he hasn't opted to place it on those hunts. And is instead going to be placing it on the berries, which I think is probably a more viable option. Because when it comes to his opponent, there's always the risk that his opponent is going to be doing a timing push, looking at potential battering ram timing push, but going to be dropping down a town center himself, obviously spotting that Hutt is on stone. So if you spot that your opponent is on stone, then by all means, you know what they're going to be doing, because you're not going to be dropping down stone walls on this map. I mean, you can do it, but it's a huge investment. Do you really want to be spending... All right, calm down, Scout. I know you see him. I know you see the enemy. You don't have to scream at me. Calm down. Do you really want to be spending, thousands of stone as you stone wall across the entire map? Get out of here, Scout. These Scouts are so annoying with that. We can obviously turn off the voice lines, and something I've neglected to do, but I'll make sure next time I do turn it off. We'll take a look over at Hutt's perspective. He's got that town center up. And keep in mind, one of the things to note is that Abbasids kind of do double TCs. I'm turning that off right now. Those Scouts are going crazy. Sorry to anybody who's watching this on YouTube. I just can't stand those Scouts screaming and whistling all the time. All right, there we go. So one of the things to note is that Abbasid Dynasty is always going to be able to outboom most civilizations. And the reason why is because of their bonus, their technology bonus. So they have a reduced villager cost foodstuffs. I think it's called fresh foodstuffs, that reduces the amount that villagers cost. So their upkeep on villages is a lot lower. And as a result, you can kind of spend more on town centers. And that's exactly what we see Hutt doing right here as he puts down a third town center. And one of the things I've theorized is that this will become meta. If you scout that your enemy has made a second town center, so we go into Hutt's perspective, we see that he's scouted the second town center, he can just go 3 town centers. And now what does his opponent do? Every town center that you add, your opponent has to match you. And if they're trying to match you when your villages cost half the cost, that's fine by you because you're just going to keep getting that economic bonus. So Abbasid are incredibly strong because as this meta continues to trend towards a second town center in the second age, it looks more and more like this opening is incredibly strong, and the Abbasid are very strong as well with that. We now see a couple stables getting pushed down at the front of the base, but a little bit of a bad timing because right as that happens, we see the archers begin to, or rather the longbows beginning to push in. The stable does get cancelled, but he telegraphed his intentions. He lets his opponent know, hey, I was going to make stables right there. So do we see a barracks coming down immediately in response? We don't see a barracks coming down just yet, but you know what? You probably don't even really need it. And can I just say for a second, I love the green that's in these bases. Even though we've got this painted desert underneath, the green that is in these bases is so beautiful. The little bits of grass, the little bits of bushes that you've got around here, it's just absolutely awesome. And not to mention this, like look at that. It looks like he's firing at the tree. He's killing the tree right there. Enemy attacking landmark. No, enemy attacking tree. It looks so great though. A little bit of scout on scout action up towards the north. Nothing to be too worried about. Tier 1 now has been activated by Hutt. 8 minutes, a little bit late to be honest. We did actually see, I think it was Hagrid getting pretty decent times on that. Maybe about like the 5-minute mark. Couple longbows now going to be moving in, potentially looking to pick off this villager. It's down on low HP. I think that villager did go the way of the dodo, unfortunately. So it looks like one villager kill going to be picked up there for Hutt's opponent. We take a look over at Simtom's perspective and see exactly what's happening. More scout on scout action up towards the north. I don't think these two are going to be too happy with it, but Simtom.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
Thank you very much, Torrent Slick. Very, very nice of you to come in. And I think what we might do is, just because I've realized that we've got that turned on, I think we might just turn on this scene over here, just so that we don't have that happening.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
Isotope NA, I think you almost got in there, buddy. Apologies, mate. Thank you very much for coming in with the Prime Gaming. Well, you're not going to be able to hear or see yourself do that one anymore. You're going to have a nice, beautiful screen. No chat on the screen either. Longbows up to the north of the map do manage to get their palings out uninterrupted, but it looks like they are going to be going down. Barely any damage there coming onto the horsemen as a result. But we now see that the horsemen have actually begun to build up in mass, so he's got a lot of stables right now. Classic Hutt. This is exactly what you'd expect out of Hutt in this situation. I just realized that the game time has not been concealed. Give me a second. I'm just gonna pause the game. If you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a cut in the video. Anyone who's watching this on Twitch, apologies. You're just gonna have to wait a second right now. Welcome back, YouTube viewers. We have fixed up the scoreboard. Everything is looking beautiful now. You can't tell what the time is. You can't tell who wins. You can't tell who loses. But you can just tell that Hut is in the game, and his opponent Simtom, on the other hand, is also in the game. You're not able to see the chat anymore, and that's good because the chat's spoiling it right now. They're telling me that that Hut is going to be victorious, and some people are saying that Simtom's going to win. So you guys are going to have to work that one out by yourselves. On the other hand, we've got a little bit of a raid coming in on both sides, and now Town Center going to be doing its best to defend. Look at the villagers. 6 attack on these villagers, so they actually do quite a bit of damage being used as archers there. When you compare that to a normal archer, like even just a normal longbow, we don't actually see any longbows out at the moment. Bit of a wall coming up here as well. But that's a huge amount of damage. 6 damage. Do not sniff at that. Especially when you've got 8 villagers all here. 6 times 8, that's 48. I did my times tables in primary school. I know my numbers. That's a lot of damage. Especially when you're considering that this is only 155 HP on that horse. So 3 volleys, that bad boy's dead. Well, maybe 3.1 volleys. But, yes. Anyway. Let's continue to move on. A little bit of a raid up here behind the base. And I guess my concern at this point is that Hut is looking to continue to expand out his economy. He's got 3 town centers down. 1, 2, 3. He's also adding farms very early into the game. I do like this. One of the issues that I have with the Abbasid is that I rely too heavily on natural resources, and eventually, when the natural resources run out, I panic. And I don't have a wood income to support my farm addiction, and as a result of not having that wood income to support the farms, I don't have any food, and now we've got a bit of a raid coming up here to the north, so I actually do like this decision to begin diversifying into farms at this early stage. Villagers have got 75 health. They do have that important upgrade, and we see that the horseman trying to best is get out. He was trying to jump over the berry bush, saying, go on, Johnny, go on, get out of there, but not being successful. Bit of a fight happening in the middle of the map. What upgrades do we have on these players? We've got 009 versus 009. No upgrades coming out for either player just yet. Still relatively early in the game, 12 minutes in at the moment, but Hut looking in a commanding lead, I would say. We'll take a look at the score, see what we've got. Player score, both very even at the moment. Simtom very slight, a little bit less, but Hut now, with the mass beginning to build, and you hear those horses stampeding. Simtom, on the other hand, let's try and count. I'm trying to count his scouts. He's up to 10 lancers, or 10 horsemen at this point. I'm going to donate a couple over. Always feels bad when you see that happen. He's just realized now when it's the absolute worst. Hut, on the other hand, plenty of units out, 14 in total. He's going to need to get some pikes out here. Otherwise, Simtom's going to be in a bit of an awkward spot. You can't be fighting on these lower numbers against your opponent, especially when he's got this many stables up. Also, Blacksmith is now up. Going to be getting those important upgrades. We see that he's already started ticking away at +1 attack on these bad boys. Over on Simtom's perspective, we watch that he does attempt to hold the defense. Villagers now in the front line. These are not longbowmen. They're not going to be able to deploy their spikes. But we do see that they're firing off. We need a garrison in this town center. Make sure that the arrows are now following. You hear those bells dinging. That is the all-important. It is the all-important. I'm trying to look for it. Where is it? It's over here? Yeah, over here. Network of castle improvement, which is increasing. Longbows now deploying their spikes. Hut has a huge mass here that is building right now. Still no upgrades for Hut, but he is actually going to be able to fend this one off. Simtom does a pretty decent job there, managing to use his villagers to great efficiency, not losing a huge amount. If we take a look at the stock take, 64 villagers at the moment for Simtom, and for Hut, 77. So up by about 13 villagers. Not a huge amount, but it's still a reasonable amount. It's going to scale over the rest of the game, especially when you consider the fact that with the economic wing, he's going to have advantage to, or access to agriculture, which is a farm technology, going to boost that up at now. Hut moving, to the third age, going to be going up with the military wing, an important wing, one of my favorites, definitely the military wing. Going to add that +1 armor from Camel support, a really, really nice upgrade. Feels great to have Camel support in. We'll take a look over at the perspective of Simtom, see if he's got anything at the moment. No, not really. Not even looking to age up. I don't see anything out for him, and a difficult spot for him. Horseman now getting chased off, and Hut really maintaining control of this game despite sort of having a little bit of difficulty in the early game. And in my opinion, it really comes down to just having that third TC. That third TC is what sets it apart, because he now controls the game. Did you guys see that? I don't know what that was, but that was interesting. I thought the whole game was going to break then. I genuinely thought, that's it, the game crashed. We're going to die. We didn't die. Hut is still here. Hut is still getting raided. The villagers in a bit of a difficult spot, but keep in mind they've got that +25 health. They're going to be absolutely fine. They actually have 7 knife damage, so that's not a small amount. I'll say that much. They're able to hold their own against those horsemen, but now the horsemen of his enemies have actually died, and 4 horses managed to get away. Hutt now reaching the 3rd age. We'll take a look at the upgrades that he's getting after we do an assessment. But why are there so many farms here, SimTom? You've got 43 people on farms. I feel like that's a lot. I remember playing the English, and I never had more than 32 people on farms. Maybe I was just playing it incorrectly, but that's a lot of food that you're going to have. How are you going to spend all that food? I'm curious. I'm really genuinely curious. Now to the north of the map, Hutt managing to get a couple of villas, sneak a couple of villages up here towards this hunt. Going to be placing down this mill, but down towards the south, the longbow's going to be coming in to isolate a couple of these villages and force them off these berries. Now Hutt having a bit of a difficult time because his push is beginning to happen, and now we've got lancers that are coming out. Lancers are going to be able to crush these villages. They're not going to stand a chance. You can see them up there with their joust. It's time. But now they pull out their scimitars, so instead deciding to charge... I'm not sure exactly what happens there or why that happens. I think it's something to do with attack move or right clicks, but their jousts are going to be providing that charge attack. Speaking of charges, we now see that happening. Age Up is ready now for SimTom, but I feel like this attack has maybe come a little bit soon for him. He's having a difficult time. He's got +1 melee armor, and also yet to have that +1 attack or +1 ranged armor. We've now got in the front of the base, it looks like, is that the white... Oh, it's the King's Palace, which is the town center wonder. So that is slightly different to the White Palace, I think it's called, or the White Tower, which is more of like a fort or a castle, a keep, if you will. We just saw some market trading happening right there. Plenty of spears going to be trying to chase away these lancers. But now, Hutt beginning to diverge on this Age Up, and this is concerning because if this Age Up goes down, if these villagers get isolated, which is exactly what's happening right now, this could spell the end of the game because SimTom needs to get up to the next age, but this is a really greedily placed town center. At the same time, behind his base, he's chasing around these knights, having a difficult time. It looked like a bit of a quick war potentially going down over here. Barracks on the other hand, but that gets cancelled. He's now forced into a difficult position because he's got absolutely... This needed to be a castle, and it needed to be right here. But now he's in a difficult spot because he's got cavalry in his base. He's got no he's got no easy way to counter these units. White Tower now going up for him. You can see just how big that range is on that White Tower. This needed to be up. It didn't. This town center was very, very greedy for SimTom, unfortunately. It's going to be in a difficult spot, but you can see now that he's on his military production building, he stays here, he idles him, he continues to attack villages. There's nothing that SimTom can do in this position. More cavalry beginning to rain in. We see the huge amount of stables in the back there from Hutt, and Hutt just once again proving why he is one of those top-ranked players. You see how impressive this is. He's now in the opponent's base. There's really not a lot he can do. You know, when it comes to just having a handful of spearmen out, it's really not going to do a lot. And there the game gets called. Hutt victorious, walking away with the victory here. An incredible job from Hutt. Absolutely well played. SimTom, the same goes to you. Fellas, if you're watching this on Twitch, make sure you say hi to the YouTube viewers. YouTubers, don't say hi to the Twitch guys. They're disgusting. They smell. They got body odor like, oh God. It's, you know, when you're a kid and you go to the gym and you just walk into that room where everybody has to change and it smells like that in here. It's terrible. You wouldn't like it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the game. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.